Howdy all, grab yourselves a beer. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion, and in this video I want to share the experience of crafting my loot filter for the Synthesis Flashback League. People will have undoubtedly, or may have undoubtedly seen the hilarious but sort of annoying video that I posted before where I didn't realise that I'd walked straight past a couple of Exalted Shards, and that was because I didn't have a proper filter for leveling. I then went and filmed some footage while I was leveling, killed a Harbinger, moved past thinking nothing of it, and there were a couple of Exalted Shards that dropped, a couple of Annulment Shards in another spot. Now, so anyways, I need a proper filter, and I'm currently at very early endgame, so I'm just filling out all the white maps on the Atlas. So I would normally at this point be using a filter that's based upon Neversink's very strict filter. However, so much more loot is dropping as a result of all of the extra mods that are present, Harbingers, Beyond Mobs, all sorts of other things on the maps, that I'm actually wanting to use a much stricter filter than I would normally be using. Normally Uber Plus Strict comes into play once you've got maybe 6 exalts of currency and you're steadily farming high tier maps. It filters out almost everything, except for currency orbs that are a scouring orb and up in normal leagues. In this league it's an alchemy orb and up actually, as alchemy is the lowest that it shows. However, I'm going to make a few changes to this setting. Most notably, the things that I think are important to have: you're fighting a lot of Harbingers. Harbingers drop clusters of small currency, Binding Shards, Horizon Shards, all these things that actually do add up to quite a bit of value when you kill a bunch of them. In normal play, you don't encounter Harbingers very often, and so these microcurrencies aren't important. But in this league, I think they're more important than they have been. Additionally, there are Parandus coins in this league, dropping quite a lot, and you always want to see those. Again, they drop clustered, which is really useful. So anyways, we're going to start with Uber Plus Strict, and then we're going to customize. First up, I'm going to keep with Vendor SP's chancing bases. The only chancing bases relevant in the current state of the game are shaped items anyway, so we don't want any chancing bases showing. Currency, we're going to make a couple of changes. Firstly, everything that's in the Exalted tier we want to keep there. There has been a little bit of movement with annulment orbs recently. They're currently very cheap in the Synthesis Flashback event, but that's not going to change. That's not going to hold, so I'm going to move them up, put them into the top tier. Now we'll go through. We've got all the sextants. We've got the things that we want to see. We've got the Chaos Orb tier. Chaos. One thing that's changed: Scouring Orbs are much higher than usual for 2 reasons. One is people trying to chance Shaper versions of uniques, and 2 is synthesis crafting. Scouring Orbs have been trading at about 1 Chaos in the established Synthesis League, and in Synthesis Flashback, whilst they're not there yet, they will be. Now, we also have other orbs of note listed here. Everything here I want to see. I also want to see Chance Orbs, and I want to see Silver Coins. Silver Coins because 1, they tend to drop clustered, and 2, there's a challenge that requires them. And 2 is the Chance Orbs, which again, partly because they're used for scour chancing of shaper versions of uniques, and secondly because 4 of them can be vended for a scouring orb. So that makes them more valuable actually than alchemy orbs and fusing orbs in the current state of the economy, which is fairly an unusual state. I'm not that fussed about mid-tier 2, I'm just not that fussed about seeing them. You'll notice that when they do show up, so they won't be shown by default, but when you hold Alt, everything that's hidden will be shown, and these orbs will all be quite large and they will stand out. When I get a big cluster of loot in one place, such as the end of a delve, I will hold Alt and I'll pick these up. These ones I don't really care about. I need to have a few of them. However, I'm going to make an exception for Alchemy Shards. Again, these drop in big clusters, and so even though they're not worth much, even the clusters aren't worth much. The drops they've got, because you might drop 6 of them in one spot. You will get them in big clusters, so they're worth having there. Alteration Shards and Transmutation Shards are lower, and I'm still going to keep them there. Now there will also be a section later for exotic currency, which is the which is the stuff that drops from harbingers. So we'll get to that later. Divination cards, we're just going to trust that Neversink has got this right, and in terms of the tiering of them. And the one thing that I do tend to do though is show the tier 4 cards and pick them up, mainly because the most common of them is the Gambler and Her Mask, the two most common. And though, oh, actually no, Her Mask was in tier 4. It's listed as a currency card, but the Gambler is one that will definitely sell as a set. These are all of the low value cards. There's a Mother's Parting Gift, however, is an exception again. I always put this up as, actually I just need to remove it, don't I? Then it disappears from here. A Mother's Parting Gift is a worthwhile card for one reason, and that is that when you turn it in, it's for the Jewel of Fertile Mind. If you get a Divine Perfect one, any intelligence stacking build will want that and will pay considerably more for it than you might think. So Fertile Mind jewels are not worth much on their own, but if they're Divine Perfect, they are. And Divine Perfect on those is 24. They give 16 to 24 intelligence, and then they have the Dexterity transform into intelligence effect on them. They're just having a quick flick through. I don't believe there's anything else here. The Warden has the potential to be very good. It's for a corrupted amulet, but that is item level 79 or 80. I can't remember which, but in practice it's not very good. It's too rare to get a good roll from it. Anyways, that's all for that section there. Now we're going to talk fractured items. Synthesized items don't drop in normal play. Jewels we're happy with. We want them to stand out. Leveling items we don't really care about. High item levels, the way that it's currently set up shows them off as being important if they are item level 86 and higher. Now, this is actually a little bit misleading. What we want is for 82, that's where certain items become valuable, and this is something that you only really can figure out by just committing this information to memory, or by experimenting a lot with the system. So rings, amulets, belts, and body armor are but actually it's only really some body armors that are worthwhile having. These are the ones that I want to sort of stand out a bit. So they're the ones that we want. Now, Energy Shield Tier 1 items, we actually want these to show up at any level and be significantly noticeable. The reason for that is that my main system for crafting plus 30 Energy Shield Hubrises and plus 24 Energy Shield on the other slots as an implicit, which is a very powerful item. It just needs 2 of them that are top tier item bases, and then the third item can be actually a completely different type of item altogether. So it can be, say, a pure strength helmet like a Royal Burgonet can be the third item, but that has to be item level 86, and it has to be triple fractured, ideally double fractured if you can't get triple. So that means that this entire rule is actually not important. We'll delete this rule actually, but we want these to actually stand out. So we're going to make sure they've got a sound on them, which they do, and that's what we want. Now this is shoes that have the potential to be onslaught boots. These are very valuable. Fractured items with item level 86 are you shouldn't let go of them for under an Exalt. And then there's this section, good bases tier 1. I will trust Neversink's word on that without going into any real further detail. I'm not that fussed about getting everything perfectly right. Okay, and then there's the remaining items are sort of visible but not shown. Okay, synthesized items don't drop in normal gameplay. Now we have our crafting rules section, our maps. I always override one setting. I always want every map to appear, including if it's been out-leveled. So I disable that setting there. And this rule I don't want to show. It's because selling complete sets of maps is always quite lucrative. Okay, now let's have a quick look through here. One change that I'm going to make is, no, actually I won't do this. One thing you can consider doing is having it so that you can see all rings and amulets while in leveling content. I'm not going to do that, I'm just going to pick them up when they drop in a big cluster. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with Neversync's default settings for, well, actually for the Scarabs I'd rather they would change, but I don't think there's a way to change them. The key thing though is that Harbinger currency, I want to see all of these because they drop in big clusters. They don't need to be striking, they're just visible. And Parandus coins, I want them to show any stack size. I don't want to have a situation where small stack sizes are hidden. That's just because Parandus coins drop in big clusters. Otherwise, that's going to basically be the vast majority of it. I'm happy with the system with skill gems, where gems that are 14 quality and up show, under 14 don't. And now we'll just do a quick test run, and we want to also include exotic currency in this, and do a test at very high item level. In fact, what I might do is only have exotic currency drops. It's always worth doing a test just to make sure that you haven't stuffed anything up. So that's generating valuable loot. See here that the transmutation shard is hidden. The binding shards and are sort of visible as the chaos shards. These are not worth picking up as one-ofs, but they will drop as 6-ofs usually. The Exalted Shards, we don't want to have any more repeats of that stupid incident that some of you may have picked up on me missing them on an earlier video. So I'm pretty happy with this as is. That's basically all there is to it. You'll notice here that I'm going to save this and make it available for people who want to use it. So it needs to be changed to say Flashback. I'm just going to have to call it FB for Flashback. And I'm going to publish this save. This means that you'll be able to use it, and I'll copy this to the. I will copy this information into the video description. Otherwise, it's just as simple as going download, and then moving the file from wherever your download folder is into your Path of Exile game folder, and then you're done. Any questions? Don't hesitate to fire away below. Otherwise, have a good one.